Thanks for joining me. Thank you for being here. Um, I have invited those of you who attend regularly to register, and thank you so much for doing so now. I have a list of people who I know might be with me now or join me later. Christine Miller, your name is new to me. Welcome. Elizabeth Kaiser, I feel like I've seen your name recently, and I think that I feel like I've met you before the video days. Lauren, I've seen your name quite a bit. Lauren Blackwell, thanks for being here. Amanda, I met you long, long ago, and I hope we get to see each other again in the reels soon. Tanya, saw you recently. Thank you for signing in. I know, and I was so heartwarmed that you're joining me regularly. Kathy Harshbarger, I think you're new to me. Maybe you've been on before. Thanks for letting me know you're here. And Nancy Jones. So, and I know others of you join me as well. Thank you so much. Thank you for doing that. Last week, I made a promise to, or I said that I would attend to something I missed in our movement piece, and it's actually going to be focal to our whole theme and practice today, working with the eyes, working a little bit with how the body contracts. And we think often of as we're exhaling, there's usually a bit of a contraction, but and where our eyes are the direction our eyes are focused, even if they're closed, and how we meet ourselves when we're contracting. So that might sound a little abstract, but let's get right to it. As I hear a lot of people say these days, let's get to it. Again, if I haven't mentioned, I'm aLex Levin. We're here with and Sun and Moon Yoga Studios portal. We have so many things going on in our community, and community is such a vital part of our health, with our well-being. So not saying you must join us as a community, but or not must, but just it's very helpful to have at least one strong community, but we all are part of different circles, our family circles, our neighborhood circles, school circles, all kinds, and our spiritual traditions. And I consider this one sort of the yoga studio, a spiritual community. Um, so it's really supports us. So sunandmoonstudio.com. And we have a backlog of lots and lots of videos to assist your practice as well here on YouTube. Okay, so let's ground. You might want to make sure you have what you need. Um, so I am thinking today, I'm not leaning into a poem, but I didn't get to look it up in one of my Pema Chodron books. She has a phrase, and I think it's something like noticing or when we want ourselves to be different, when we're denying something about ourselves, we are actually in a form of subtle aggression toward ourselves. And I'm going to work with that today in what I think is quite a subtle expression of that, or pattern of that. So, so wherever you choose to be, maybe you're lying down. You could be lying down today. You might be standing for parts or all of this. You could be sitting in a chair, on the ground, on a couch, and begin to feel what it's like to arrive, what it feels like, and to start to avail ourselves of the the force that we live in. Like a fish lives in water, we live in this gravitational field, this blanket of atmosphere around the earth. And we know from footage of when the rockets go through that Earth's atmosphere, that force of heat, I think, that happens there, and then once we're beyond it, it's where there's no gravity, you're just floating in space, or the force speed of force propels. So, letting ourselves heavy, almost using it as a verb, letting yourself heavy. Perhaps as you do that, you might feel that parts of you are relaxing. I feel my jaw relax. And there's no particular positional posture, alignment that has to happen. I'm thinking for this, I feel and I practice this alignment of just feeling the space around us that is not just empty on many levels, but it's got this downward pull of gravity, and there is a opposing and equal, maybe, upward lift of levity. But let's continue with the gravity and feel the weight of the foot, the weight of your whole body, your back, your head, your hips, your legs, and just taking the time to feel that. One of my teachers says, and I trust him. I don't. The, I'm the type of mind that wants to verify. I want to see what's the source of that. Where are the studies on that? That the language of the body, feeling the body, listening into its messages, is a much more slow communication than the language of the mind. The mind thoughts are extremely fast, even when for some of us they sometimes feel slow. So actually, especially if you're seated and maybe if you're lying down, roll onto your side and just begin to feel that if you not necessarily like if you were leaning back on your hands, I was going to say we kind of bow over to forward, but if you were leaning back on your hands, you might feel that you're opening upward, that the front body's opening. So whichever way you're sitting, um, if you're on your, I'm thinking of like coming forward, folding forward a little bit, like bowing. And if you're lying down, then on your side, just curling up a little and feeling that the curvature of the back, the hollowing out of the front, and to begin to feel our breathing here. So I often use these three cues of bringing us to that doorway of presence, or through into and through the doorway of presence. Ground, which is the gravity levity, breath, and sound and space around. And I've sort of mentioned the space around with gravity. The space around, I feel like there's a grid of gravity, but also all the things, the room, the town, the house, the sky above, the sounds that come through, the smells, the color. Oh my gosh, fall this time of year is my favorite with the leaves. We've had such a brilliant fall this year. Space around, breath, noticing breath. And then bring your hands so that your elbows are maybe a little away. If you're on your side, maybe just one hand is under you or sort of in front of you. The other up kind of a little away, bent at the elbows, and as if we're holding like a medicine ball size thing, a bit bigger than a basketball, but it's soft and easy to hold like a beach ball, holding it toward our body, touching it. And as we exhale, so I'm borrowing this from a course I'm taking, and the first lesson, it's just so powerful. As we're exhaling, need not do anything. Just feel that, generally speaking, we can manipulate it, but usually as we exhale, everything inside our body sort of collapses in. And you might imagine just ever so slightly pressing into that ball. So your arms don't really move because the imaginary ball there prevents the movement. So it's isometric. And then when you inhale, just release, relax. And feel how the insides of you in the lung space, heart space, belly space opens. And then we exhale again, a little bit of press, and maybe feel how you're noticing that. And just this little pattern of a slight isometric squeezing in of the imaginary ball as we exhale, and feeling the mirroring of that and inside the body, and perhaps feeling it on other places like shoulders, neck, where the contraction happens. And then let it be, let go of that, and just sit, just lie, just sit, still on your side if you're on the ground. Again, notice what your breath is feeling like right here, how it uh, how on the inside spaces of the torso, the openings of the ribs, or you may not feel much opening. If you don't feel what I'm speaking of, notice that. Notice perhaps your reaction of some distress or mm, confusion or impatience. And so let's do that one more time, imagining that small beach ball we're holding to our front body, and it mirroring the activity of the spaces inside the body that receive the breath and open on the inhale and then contract inward on the exhale. And so there's a little bit of effort, just ever so slight as you exhale and press in, and then relaxing of that effort and isometric push on the inhale. And then as you're exhaling, can you allow that effort, allow there to be more relaxation. So let's let the exhale be a little longer, and imagine relaxing even as there's contraction. And then let it go. And you can pause and stop at any point, even if you just do one or two repetitions. While you're exhaling, and you relax more within the effort. This might seem like a contradiction in terms in in what I'm inviting you to do. Like, how is that possible? Two things that seem opposing. And once again, let it go and just rest. If you're on your side, excuse me, lying on the ground or a bed and you just want to roll onto your back, you can, or you can stay on your side. And just noticing what you're noticing of the breathing, and perhaps something feels a little different from this very short period of tiny movements. And we'll do this one more time, this third round. And again, the inhale, just relax. On the exhale, notice all that's you're purposely doing some of the contraction, and then notice what else, where in your body you're feeling the contraction. Could be very low in the deep belly, could be in the hips, be sort of on the skin level, could be in parts of your back, even though that's kind of opening in this shape as we're contracting forward. You might feel it in your shoulders. And while contracting, so you may be doing it as I'm talking, you may also be invited to relax, even as find a way to make that contraction so light that it's pleasing and easy and relaxing. Might feel contradictory. Oh, and the piece I forgot last week. Let's add it in. Where the eyes. Let the eyes now gaze, even as my eyes are closed, to the middle of that ball. Thank you, memory. I'm just like, the eyes. Maybe you didn't even know, where were my eyes looking before? What were they doing? But this focusing of the eyes, the eyes and the hands and arms are sort of auxiliary feeling tools, but they are very intricately involved in when we contract unconsciously or around pain. You can let it go now or in a few more breaths. A lot of the body, there's a lot of mechanisms that are mobilized to protect, to go in there and protect. And what we've just done is mimic what happens when something threatens us, pain or discomfort, emotional or physical, from inside or outside, how the body contracts to protect itself. And then more contraction comes around that to layer over and double protect. And what I find so interesting and new to me is this idea of, instead of like when we notice that we're contracting and we say, oh, well, just relax the shoulders or let it go and relax and we're really practicing how we can meet that protective action of contraction and actually be with it, engage in it, and add relaxation to it instead of trying to get away from it to relax. I hope I'm making sense. This was a teaching in a brilliant way that I was received a couple weeks ago, and yet it's really dovetails with this idea that I've known from yoga for a long time, of meeting, how important it is to meet ourselves where we are. So we don't start yoga and try to do the most advanced poses. We start with something accessible and maybe a little challenging, but not so challenging that it would just frustrate us or it would could be hurtful in a way. Like it just wouldn't be smart to take on something that's more advanced. Uh, so it's more uh, integrating and harmonious to meet like that. And this is a really subtly meeting ourselves at that layer of protection, which I've always heard that, um, to honor the wisdom of the patterns that might not be serving us anymore, especially the tension patterns or reactive patterns, but they really were, are there in a wise way that perhaps saved us, and that's what I often hear. I'm still working on understanding that fully. So thank you for joining me in that exploration, and then I'll just, if the talking has gotten a bit much, I will just talk us through a centering again, and you might change your position if you would like to, for the stillness portion. And once again, we'll ground. Mm. Ground to arrive for this next practice. About 8 minutes together. So we might look and feel into and be noticing, even off the cushion outside the practice, like notice how we react to things. And part of this is part of the gift of this practice is to expand our capacity to, again, I heard a wonderful way to think of this, to let our boundaries expand, to have the capacity to be more aware, um, be more aware, and to hold those things that we are so habitual that we've glossed over them, that we pass by them quickly. So to really feel, oh, how is it that I'm reacting? What part of me is there? What age was I? What younger version of myself is there? And to be with that energy, that being that is just ourself, but in a different part of the timeline, and the energetic imprint is still there, the emotional imprint, the physical imprint is all still there. So, about an 8-minute meditation. I'll start with the bell, and I know you may not hear it there on out in YouTube land. Have a good journey. I'll talk you through a little more centering again. So in these first few moments, you may just check the posture. If you can be lying down, then there's less to check, but still maybe a place where you might heavy some more, or you might let go, or you might just adjust the positioning. A sense of where we are in relation to the surface of the earth and to her very core, her navel, her belly button in the very center, where a line through each of us and down through the earth connects us, like where the bouquet of balloons is held together, bouquet of flowers. And every dropped line down around us is that line of gravity, and it's a grid that holds us, and we can lift up into the opposing levity and really relax into this. It's not really a grid, is it? What would it be? Just like downward lines. It's a like bars. In a sense, it's a grid. Invisible and powerful, and then they allow us to really relax more in the shoulders and the jaw. And then feel how breath is here with us, and how fairly naturally, as we breathe out, there is this contraction inside, really a change of shape. There might be a pause after the exhale. The inhale, if you, especially when you just allow a short pause or even a longer pause after the exhale, the inhale comes in very effortlessly. And as we listen, as we go to the sound and space around leg of my three guideposts, we can listen to the feel of our body wherever we feel contraction. And contraction can be very pleasant. We love to bend over, to open, to all our movements involve contraction. And there are contractions that are on the other end of the continuum where they're painful, from arthritis or chronic stiffness or inflammation, or usually those bound up with emotion in some way. And just observe these voices of contraction in their various ways. Some of them also part of our natural body's metabolisms and movements of the organs that we don't have to control or attend to. They're there, of the breathing of the diaphragm muscle. Cellularly, there's a pulsing, these mechanisms that keep us live. Meet these explorations with wonder. Perhaps add where the gaze of the eyes is. And mine is usually for meditation is just kind of out in front of me a little bit toward the ground, whether my eyes are open or closed. And when you feel like your mind has wandered and you notice that, and we can have that little bit of celebration at the power of noticing that we have, that superpower, and then just proclaim as the poem I've been leaning into says, here, recognizing you're just here. Um, so we note the end of the practice as these transitions are powerful. I bring my hands together in front of the heart. You might do something different, but I like this bowing gesture as it's rich with humility, with gratitude, with recognizing this gift we give to ourselves and each other and the whole world through this practice. So, thinking of the contraction, and may you, thinking of us going out into our week till we meet again, or your next practice. of how we might notice ourselves contracting, the various ways we contract in our lives. And no big deal, I think, and these are gifts in a way. There's a story, I don't know its origin, but it's about like a monkey reaching into a cage, maybe a lion's cage or something, to get a nut, the nut that's in there. So the monkey reaches in and can go through easily like this. But once you grab the nut, the fist, the monkey fist can't come back out through, and it's trying. But if it opens its fist, it loses the nut. And I've always understood one lesson of that story to be, this is like to just how we're so holding on to something, and if we simply open our hand, we relieve ourselves, we free ourselves. But I just had an insight of this story also being, how stories have so many levels, layers, these stories that persist through time, and that nut is something so precious. And so when we notice ourselves contracting, maybe it's in an anger that feels really old, or a frustration that comes to us, we could also investigate, what is it? We can go ahead and release it and try to get out of it, get ourselves to a safe and freer place. But maybe let's not try to run away from that contraction so fast, from what is it we're doing there. There's some richness, some message from our past self to come and tell us something about that precious thing that happened to me when I was 10 years old or something. And not to blame necessarily. We can get beyond that now as taking responsibility for our lives, but to free ourselves, or to see what was that hurt, and or to give ourselves the compassion, the understanding, the whatever we were missing at that point, or and how we dealt with it in whatever way we could, and with the tools we had then, and the relief, the the way we got ourselves to a safe feeling place, whatever that gift was at that time. So thank you for exploring all this with me. I think I'm gaining a lot from a Feldenkrais teacher named Ari, oh, Raz Ori. He's broadcasting from Tel Aviv, Israel. My friend Andrea Kish is helping me in a practice she's been learning, similar to a practice I've been learning, called focusing. Hers is called Compassionate Inquiry, from Gabor Mate. And I'm running over time, so I'm going to let you go. Thank you. Ciao, ciao. I'll see you here again next time.